Hello, everybody. I hope everyone's having a good Venus retrograde. Today, I'm doing another one of these animated charts, and I'm going to show you what's happening is that we're having a retrograde Venus making a square to Uranus and Taurus, which is at the 22 degree of Taurus. Today, Venus is at the 25 degree, so that gives it an orb of 3 degrees. So we should already be feeling this one. And if you notice that the sun today is at 11 degrees of Leo and Venus is at 25 degrees. So this means that there is a 15-degree orb. Actually, now that it's at the 11th degree, it's just 14 degrees, which means Venus, as we speak, is just starting to go under the beams of the sun. I think it's 15 degrees is when is considered to be combust, right? And combustion is something that I learned from Adam Ellenboss taking his class on ancient astrology. But during the process of a retrograde, Venus is weakened by its proximity to the sun. Basically, if you were to look outside at, in the morning sunlight, you would not be able to see Venus very well because it is so close to the bright rays of the sun. And as such, the impact or the force of Venus is weakened. It is obscured by the sun. And there's a symbolic meaning behind all this because here, I will animate it and show you what happens. It is a kind of a symbolic death and rebirth moment as Venus comes closer and closer to making this conjunction with the sun. Here, here we have Venus squaring Uranus perfectly at the 22nd degree, and that will perfect at the 10th of August. And at that moment, it's only 5 degrees away from the sun, so there is there's two things happening, I think. There's a certain kind of a deterioration of Venus and coming things have to break down before they're reborn again, and Uranus often stands for a kind of a revolutionary breakthrough. It could often the introduction of something new, shaking things up. When we're talking about Venus, there are also some fairly common patterns that I have noticed. For example, the Uranus is all about kind of like this kind of progressive, kind of revolutionary appeal, I find. And when Venus is involved, I think that Uranus has the effect of introducing new people into your life, but it can also kind of shake up and destabilize what has become the routine, what has become commonplace. And I also think it has the effect of destabilizing and shaking up traditional ideas of either what we might associate with femininity being a Venus thing or friendships and relationships. And I think it's pretty easy to say that things like polyamory or going outside the bounds of what is normally considered usual and normal in the context of a relationship. I mean, even if it's not polyamory, I think Uranus often brings in things like weird triangle dynamics, weird group dynamics, but also in the name of maybe not as a permanent thing, or maybe not as a, that you form a polycule or something like that, but as a trying to shake things up, change things. And it could also be with relationships at all. It could also be a change of style, a change of taste, a change of aesthetics. But during this particular moment, because Venus is both in retrograde and is in the state of combustion, it's a kind of a breaking down of the previous order of Venus that had been established. And another thing to take in consideration about this moment is that the rebirth of Venus, prior to this, Venus was in the position of evening star. Venus, I mean, unfortunately, Venus likes being an evening star more than she likes being a morning star. Um, because evening star Venus is kind of a mature, responsible Venus, and a morning star Venus is maybe a less mature, more brash and impulsive Venus, perhaps, right? So as we keep going, anyways, we can see here that on the 13th of August, um, right in the when we start getting into this balsamic phase. So it's also, we had the full moon in Aquarius, and now we're kind of approaching a new moon in Leo. And there is this kind of, they often say the balsamic moon is about letting go and releasing, or open, being in a state of openness for the planting of new seeds in the new cycle. And that's happening right as the sun is in a perfect conjunction with Venus, also known as a Cazimi. And this is a position known as being in the heart of the sun, which gives Venus, while Venus was breaking down, approaching this position, this is like having a special appointment with the king or something like that. It's like being in the throne room and being given a, Venus and the sun are having this critical moment that is setting the tone or setting the stage for a new chapter in Venus's journey, which will, as we see, as we keep going, then Venus will be in the morning star position, beginning to separate from the sun, still under the beams here. But this dynamic, as you can see here, on the 16th of August, we have the new moon, right? And the new moon is going to be right in this area where Venus has been retrograding and having this Cazimi with the sun, and also squaring Uranus. So even the new moon in Leo has the qualities of this Uranus square, to the effect that, I mean, the sun is going to be in a 23 degrees on the sun, 23 degrees of Uranus, a perfect square between the sun and Uranus on the new moon. So it's definitely a time where, if to expect the unexpected, to be open to new things, to changing things up, to the introduction of different, whether Venus stands for people or whether Venus stands for aesthetic sensibilities. It's an exciting moment, I think, and I'm looking forward to it. Um, and as we keep going into the future, eventually we can see that Venus will be separating. And then once Sun is in Virgo, we can see that Venus will now have 15 degrees away from the Sun. And this is once Venus is starting to regain some visibility in the morning star position. And like I said before, though, the Venus retrograde goes on quite a bit, so it won't be until late into September here. Here we go. Where is it? Or, well, I guess mid-September. Or is it? You can see that Venus stations direct on, the late in September. 3rd of September, Venus stations direct, but then you still have the retrograde shadow period. But at least at this point in time, you've got a whole sign of distance between Venus and the sun. So Venus will be kind of reborn fresh and anew as a morning star, the beginning of a new Vedic synodic cycle. Very exciting times. And I'm doing this thing right now where I'm making these little animation videos, short and sweet, but I may make another longer video as more of a vlog format later. But thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting the channel. It means a lot to me. And please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.